What's going on, guys? It's K-Dub here with another episode of CryptoZombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a wonderful day today. And not to say exactly as predicted, but what were we saying about holding this line, potentially preparing for a bit of a scam wick? Well, you could see we did in fact have a daily candle wick all the way down to around $38,500. We bounced back hard, and currently we are sitting back above the trend line right here, guys. And you can see Bitcoin currently trading over $41,000. Now, we didn't go down as low as I thought we would go down. In all fairness, I was looking at this sort of wick support right here. However, the other thing is we didn't really see as much volume. So I'm not exactly jumping for joy just yet, but I am saying the fact that every time we dip below this trend line, we see some big players, some whales, somebody coming in, buying Bitcoin at these levels is telling me that the bulls are still fighting to maintain control of these markets. So we have a lot to go over today. We have some big news. You're going to want to make sure that you stick around to the end of the video this time, guys. And also, I just want to say thank you to everyone out there, because the day has finally come, my friends. And after 6 months of begging Twitter to verify me, I have finally received a verified check mark. So thank you so much, guys. Finally, we can forget all these scammers, because there's lots of scammers out there, which, by the way, guys, this has been floating around on YouTube, the CryptoZombie arbitrage deal. This is not me. I don't have any types of paid groups. I'll never ask you to send me money or anything like that. Please be very careful. But now you can make sure verified over here on Twitter, and of course in YouTube, verified. So if you don't see this verified check mark, you know that it's not me. But that being said, guys, we have a lot to go over today. I want to talk about whether or not we are actually seeing this bottoming pattern play out. Did we actually have the top at 70,000, or are we really looking to continue this bull trend? Because there is something huge, guys. Massive news, and I'm not kidding when I say stick around to the end of this video, because something is about to happen next week, and this could literally release the Bitcoin bulls, and it could have a trickle-down effect. It could be like an avalanche. It could be the flood that we've been waiting for. I'm pretty excited, as you can tell. We're going to dive into that. Of course, we're going to go over the short-term price action, which, by the way, if you guys are trading this, if you are subscribed to the channel, come on, guys. We've been killing it lately. I hope you've been enjoying yourself in the markets. It's a wild ride, especially if you're new. But that being said, guys, thank you again for getting me verified. I love you. You're awesome. If you're not subscribed, definitely consider it. We are going to go over some awesome content today. You're not going to want to change this video. So let's dive in. Let's have a look at what's going on. So currently, we are still being supported by this uptrend. In fact, over here, we actually had two different types of spider lines. We had this purple area right here and this green, and it doesn't matter where you look at, guys, because look what happened. We came down, we had the wick, the candle literally pumped above this resistance right here. And as you can see, we're now sitting above this resistance as well. And I've been telling you guys now for over a week, I think like 2 weeks now, that I'm still looking at this target right here at around $44,600. That is the level where then we're going to have to reassess the charts and see whether or not the bulls can maintain control. But overall, essentially, this is playing out exactly as we thought it was going to, right? And if you watched my previous video, we were talking about a very interesting concept, which was maybe what's happening right now is that Bitcoin is actually forming a giant bull flag, right? Or a bull pennant, or like I said, if we trim a little bit of the fat off the top, trim a little bit of fat off the bottom, what do you have, guys? Essentially, we are putting in a giant ascending triangle, which would probably be the absolute most bullish structural formation that we could be forming right now, because it's literally been going on for over a year and a month. And this is how you build the base, right? And I did say that there is a very, very good chance that when we do eventually, which we are going to break out of this eventually, you're going to see a new all-time high for Bitcoin. It would be very, very unlikely to see Bitcoin come down to these levels simply because of all of this accumulation that's been happening between this zone. I mean, you're talking about a year and 4 months right here of accumulation. So there are definitely big players that feel like they missed out. Not all of the institutions have an opportunity right now legally to be getting into Bitcoin, but that time may be coming very soon. And hint, hint, stay around for the end of the video, as I said. But like Nicholas was pointing out right here, he likes to have fun with these charts over on Twitter, and you can actually see that Bitcoin does form these types of patterns in these mid cycles, right? You can see we have these consolidation moves. Actually, right here, look, there's a double bottom right there, guys. So, and even here in this downward sloping trend, and also this megaphone pattern down here, we actually talked about the descending broadening wedge. Just want to bring that up too. We actually called when that was happening, but essentially he's saying that we could be seeing something very similar. Now, this is a rising wedge, right? Inherently, those are bearish, but weren't we doing the same thing right here? And we broke out to the upside as well, which is why, going back to essentially what I was saying here, we could just be putting in a giant mid-cycle consolidation. And I know it's boring. It's very boring, right? It's been going on for over a year and a half, but just think about how much time we've had to accumulate Bitcoin in these levels. This is something that people beg for. They wish they could have an opportunity to get Bitcoin before it explodes. We've had over a year and 4 months now, and it is still not fully done with this pattern just yet. So like I said, guys, ultimately, holding here is great. If we got back up to around this $46,000 level, that would be awesome. But most likely, we're probably going to hit this resistance right around here, like I said, which is why I'm still looking around $44,600. And by the way, I just have to give a massive shout out. This was an incredible call over here by Ali Martinez. He said, this came out yesterday. He said Bitcoin's last line of defense is the 78.6% Fibonacci retracement level at around 38,530. Breaching this support level could see Bitcoin fall to 32,000 or even 26,000. But he said $38,530. Bitcoin fell to $38,556. Well played, my friend. That was an amazing call. Like I said, though, I don't want to get super excited. I mean, I am excited, but obviously we didn't really see as much volume in these moves, so I had anticipated a little bit more of a drawdown. We didn't quite get it. Could that have been the move? Was that what we were waiting for? Well, we'll have to see. We have to, let the rest of the week play out. But ultimately, guys, this is telling me that the bulls are still in control. And I also want to give a shout out to everyone who's been commenting in the video, because 1 in 21 million actually mentioned, and good on you, brother, for pointing this out. Something I forgot from your video yesterday on log, if you'd make a trend from the top in 2017 to the 2022 low, you could do the same for the 2013 top to the COVID low, and you could even potentially do it from the April 2013 top to 2015 low. Once it breaks the trend, we get a retest and then the blow off top, then use it as support twice and the cycle starts over. Boom. So I actually decided to put these lines on the chart, and it is actually pretty incredible. You could see down here, essentially, we have these two major touches down here that we had back in 2015 that sort of, marked the bottom of this, and then we continued upwards. If we actually look at what we did, and this is even considering that we had the COVID crash, right? We had this bottom out here in the beginning of 2018. We also had the COVID bottom literally perfectly touching the line, right? So we did that sort of double bottom, continued upwards. And if you guys look at what we're doing right now, we actually have touched this level twice so far, right? So are we putting in another one of those double bottom patterns? Could be, guys, could be. This could be the legacy support that Bitcoin is usually looking for. So once again, shout out to you. This is why you guys got to comment below. We're a community here. You guys feed off of me. I feed off of you. We like to brainstorm a little bit around here. We like to throw around some ideas, but I like your style, buddy. And I'm feeling quite similar about that as well. In fact, if you just look at the Bitcoin entity adjusted dormancy flow, which Blockwise put out, the best accumulation period since 2013 were down here, 1, 2, and 3. We are back in the zone. Actually, we just started leaving the zone again. So he says, why would you sell at this area? Avoid the noise, focus on accumulating Bitcoin. And you can see right here, historically speaking, going all the way back to this 2015 dip, that these were the times to accumulate. And they also line up perfectly with these levels that we just drew. So we are starting to see this confluence happening in the charts, right? And this is why I do believe that the 4-year cycle isn't as useful as it used to be. The reality is yes, of course, we're going to have the halving event, but everyone is anticipating it. I mean, what person in crypto right now doesn't know that we're going to get a halving event? Everybody knows, right? So it's kind of starting to become priced in. It's not a surprise anymore. This is why I believe in these lengthening cycles. And if you just have a look at simple indicators, like Ether pointed out over here, we haven't seen any enthusiasm in the Bitcoin price yet. Don't let the negative news feeds being served to you affect the market. Endless thanks to David Puel, who created the Puel multiple. And in fact, if you just want to look at over here, what we have for the Bitcoin Bull Run Index, now this takes 10 of some of the biggest indicators and packs them all into a chart. Now you could toggle them off, like if I turn this off and I turn this off, you can obviously see that it changes a little bit. But if we just put them all on right now, just to show you sort of an accumulative view of what's going on right now, you could see that in all of these instances, especially during either mid-cycle or blow-off tops, I guess not really mid-cycle because the mid-cycle was around here, but you could see, look, we had this all the way up at around 92% confidence that this was the top, 97 confidence that this was the top, 99% confidence in 2017 that this was the top, and the highest that we've ever gotten is only 80%, and that was when Bitcoin's price hit $56,000 back in February of last year. So just having a look at this chart right here, you could see that we have not even gotten up to that enthusiasm, and if I zoom into where we are today, we're sitting at around 34%, right? Actually, this chart, I could technically refresh this and update it because this is a day old. So where are we sitting at? Yeah, still 34%, Bitcoin price sitting over 40,000. So ultimately, if you have a look at this chart, you ignore the cycles. And, this is kind of a tangent. I don't have it pulled up right now, but you guys have seen the stock to flow model by Plan B. A lot of people were sort of ragging on it, being like, see, I told you it didn't work. But the thing is that cycle is based on the halvings. And like I said, the halvings are not going to serve as much as an indicator in these 4-year cycles anymore. We're going to get a halving every 4 years. That's going to happen. But ultimately, lengthening cycles, bigger players, institutions, and the big news at the end of this video could push this cycle longer and higher than we even actually anticipated. Now, I do understand everyone is still very concerned about what could happen. In fact, Goldman Sachs is predicting that the odds of a recession are roughly 15% in the next year and 35% within the next 24 months. However, you do notice that if you look historically, for example, when you had the yield curves inverting in 2006, it took 2 years until we actually had the 2008 financial crisis, and markets continued to perform very well leading up to that moment. So as I said, what do markets hate the most? Uncertainty. That's what they hate. They don't hate bad news. They don't hate good news. If they have good news, they know that things are looking great. If they have bad news, then things aren't looking so great. But if they don't know what's going on, that's when they have an issue. Everyone's anticipating this to happen. And hedge fund manager Michael Burry, you might know him. He's the guy from the movie The Big Short. He believes that the U.S. Federal Reserve has no intentions of fighting inflation. And I think we've seen recently that although they're claiming to be hawkish, what have they really done? Raised it 25 basis points? Does it really look like they're trying to aggressively fight it when we had inflation up over 8.5, whatever it was, almost 9%? And I'm pretty sure that those numbers are a lie. But, scrolling down here, you had Ray Dalio of Bridgewater Associates. He said what you have is enough tightening by the Fed to deal with inflation adequately, and that is too much tightening for the markets and the economy. So the Fed is going to be in a very difficult place a year from now as inflation still remains high and it starts to pinch on both the markets and the economy. I think that most likely what we're going to have is a period of stagflation. Now, during stagflation, most stocks tend to not do well, although you do notice, if you look historically, ones that offer dividends tend to outperform others. Now, Bitcoin doesn't inherently offer a dividend, but Bitcoin is in fact limited. And although some argue it's not a hedge against, inflation or a hedge against a hedge against inflation. Historically, if you look at Bitcoin, the fact that 2 years ago Bitcoin was $3,000 and today it's $40,000, it's a pretty good hedge in my book if you take out the intraday volatility, right? So if you have a look at what's going on, essentially in the background, crypto-focused customer base of Silvergate Bank, and this is in a recent report, has grown to 1,500 in the first quarter. So digital currency customers grew to 1,503 as of March 31st compared to 1,381 December 31st and 1,104 March 31st of 2022. They say looking at deposits, the firm said that the average digital currency customer deposits grew to about 14.7 billion during the first quarter of 2022 compared to 13.3 billion during the first quarter of 2021. So we are seeing that demand, but I know what you guys are waiting for, the big news of the day, guys, but you got to stick with me because there's more to it. So right here, you can see that the listing of Australia's first Bitcoin exchange traded fund, or ETF, on the CBOE equities trading platform is going to take place next week, serving as the country's first major test of widespread customer demand for cryptocurrency. Now, keep in mind, we have some in the US, but they are futures, right? They are not they are not physically settled. They are cash settled. Therefore, it does not create the demand for Bitcoin. We've seen them do it in Canada. Now they're doing it in Australia. You're probably wondering, how does this affect the US? Let's continue. Stick with me. After a sufficient number of market players agreed to stringent margin restrictions, the clearinghouse that controls access to the country's equities capital market will grant the green light for the country's first Bitcoin ETF. It's believed that there are currently 3 institutional grade clearing participants and 1 big clearing player that are prepared to pay the 42% margin required by ASX Clear before permitting trading in a Bitcoin ETF to commence. So you had the chief risk officer at ASX saying, we are now at our minimum number of clearing participants, and that means we are good to go. In other words, the sole Bitcoin ETF product now in front of ACX Clear, the Cosmos Asset Management Bitcoin ETF, will be able to begin trading on the CBOE April 27th when the market opens. About 1 billion is expected to flow into Australia's first Bitcoin ETF when it lists next week. Now, this came out from Eric Balchunas. Now, who is this guy? Well, he's the senior ETF analyst for Bloomberg. And he points out that Australia is the 8th country to approve a spot Bitcoin ETF, which is going to be listed on the 27th. They expect to bring in 1 billion off bat, which is about the equivalent of 100 billion in the US. It's actually a little bit high of an estimate. I'm not gonna, but it's close. It's close. So 100 billion, let's just say, what would that do if that was in fact US dollars, right? It would do a lot because remember, market caps are lies. You don't actually need $1 trillion to come in to push the market cap $1 trillion, right? Because that's not how you calculate it. You simply calculate it by the last price that an asset traded multiplied by the amount in circulation. Pretty much in a nutshell, that's how you do it, right? But here is the kicker. He says there's a rumor that Van Eck and Beta shares will launch too. So if Van Eck actually is involved in this and these guys do get the green light, if I'm reading this correctly, if I am interpreting this correctly, let me know if you disagree with the way that I am interpreting this. This could be massive. This could put a lot of pressure on the US to realize either we need to start getting a spot ETF or we are going to fall behind. We're going to miss out on all the action. We're going to miss out on all these potential taxable events, right? And why do I think this? Why do I think that this could push the US into actually approving a spot ETF, maybe even this year? Well, if you guys remember, the SEC rejected Van Eck's ETF that sought to track Bitcoin directly being physically on demand for the customers. This was back in November 12th of last year. The SEC said that the CBOE had not done enough to demonstrate it could prevent fraudulent trading to protect investors. Now, if we go back to this news over here, and Australia is giving it the green light, and Van Eck is involved, and it does go well, and they do get that 1 billion, capital inflow that they are expecting, do you think that that could finally be the proof of what the SEC in the US needs to approve something like this? I think this could be massive. I think that this could be the thing that just opens the floodgates, just lets the money pour in and really creates that avalanche and releases the bulls. And then we finally do see that 100,000, $200,000 potential Bitcoin price. And getting back to what I said in my previous video, if that does lead into, actually speaking of Kevin O'Leary, I actually have a story about this guy. But speaking about what Kevin O'Leary had said, in regards to the sovereign wealth funds, especially over in the UAE, if they get involved, they're looking to allocate even more billions of dollars of capital. You guys see where I'm going here? It's a trickle-down effect. It's the dominoes being set up, getting ready to fall, and this could be everything that we've waited for so long for Bitcoin. So that's the good news. It's not confirmed, okay? But it definitely seems like we're moving in the right direction. So drop a comment below. Let me know what you guys think about this. Are you excited? Do you think it doesn't matter? Do you think the US SEC is just going to continue to just say no? I mean, they have to say yes at some point, right? They can't say no forever. So I was really excited about that. I thought that was really good news. So speaking of Kevin O'Leary, just to show you more of the interest in the space, earlier this year, WonderFi, which is financially backed by Kevin O'Leary, bought the Toronto-based crypto exchange BitBuy Technologies for about $163 million in cash and shares. Now, remember that Canada has already approved a spot Bitcoin ETF. Just kind of keep that in the back of your mind, right? So according to recent coverage, the organization wants to double down on their endeavors by acquiring Coinberry for nearly $30 million. If greenlighted by regulators and shareholders, the deal will grant WonderFi a total of 160 employees and 750,000 customers. Experts believe the latest acquisition is a step toward nationwide consolidation for the digital asset sector. And like Kevin O'Leary said, we're definitely setting ourselves up to go toe-to-toe on the global stage. But remember, we're doing it on a regulated basis. Unlike those other players, we are 100% operating under the order, and we're not taking any risks on that. And this is what he was talking about. I mean, this guy, he got citizenship over at the UAE. He's been talking to these guys, and he knows that they want to get in, they want to dip their toes, but they're waiting for this official green light of regulation. And when that does come, he anticipates, and I'm quoting him, you guys can Google this, I'm not making this up, that if we do get those billions of dollars in, you're talking about a price increase of Bitcoin of about $400,000 per coin on top of the price today. So if we're sitting at around 40,000, that's a $440,000 Bitcoin. And these guys are going to sit on it. They're not going to sell it. They're not looking for a 5%, 10%, 50% flip. They want to hold it long term. They want it to be part of their long-term portfolio. They want to pass it down generational wealth, from generation to generation, right? So that's what they're looking to do. That is the big news for today. And even just on like a little bit of a side note, I know I don't really talk about NFTs too much. NFTs are obviously becoming very popular. They still are crypto, right? NFTs are related to crypto. They're on the blockchain. Interestingly enough, the total volume traded in NFTs has actually exceeded 18 million ETH, or around $54 billion in aggregate volume. So according to Into the Block's year-to-date chart, it shows that the global trading volume of NFTs has grown from 16.94 billion in January of this year to 54.58 billion as of today, which is over a 222% increase. So why are guys like Kevin O'Leary trying to buy up all these different exchanges? What do you think is going to happen if Van Eck does get the approval? Will the US SEC finally approve a Bitcoin ETF? Do you even understand how many people will then be getting into crypto? There's so many people right now that still either think it's a scam or they're skeptical to get in because they don't want to, they don't want to get a Coinbase account and buy into crypto or get a Gemini account or something like that. They want a professional investment institutional vehicle that they trust, these big wealthy families, family offices, right? And if we do get that, my friends, well, then that year and 4 months, maybe even 2 years of consolidation, this gigantic pattern that we've been putting in, hopefully you guys had an opportunity to accumulate during this time, is going to pay off, and we are all going to be sitting quite pretty. And just to point out over here on the rainbow chart, the rainbow spider lines, you can actually see that we wicked below the orange and we are back in here. So, the next area really to get above is around that $43,000 area, which I do think we're going to get above that. Like I said, I still think we're going to 44,600. But we'll see. Happy to be wrong, although I don't think I will be. So that being said, guys, thank you so much for coming back to the channel. And also, once again, thank you so much for, raising your voices and helping me get verified over on Twitter. Drop a like on this video just for that alone. You guys rock. You're awesome. You're the reason that I make these videos. I love you. I hope you have a wonderful, spectacular, phenomenal, the drill day. That's it for me. And of course, guys, if you are looking to trade and you want to get better at trading. You know, I don't suggest you use your real money. You can use paper accounts. You can trade with fake money on all of these different exchanges. It's very good to practice. That way you can just, dip your toes in the water. But if you are interested, I do have over $8,000 in bonuses below from 2 of the exchanges, and Prime XBT actually does a 50% Bitcoin reward. So if you deposit a Bitcoin, they'll give you half a Bitcoin to trade with. Of course, you can't instantly pull it off, but it's still a pretty good deal. So if you're interested in any of that and you want to learn how to trade, make sure that you watch these videos popping up right here, right now. Until next time, stay crypto, and of course, peace out.